Hey y'all, my name is Jasmine Jones and I am a licensed clinical social worker and you are now watching Black Girl, a therapist in the wild. And this is a little show I like to call Therapist Sips and Reviews. And today we are reviewing Abbott Elementary, Season 2, Episode 11, Thon. And we are sipping on some Arnold Palmer and vodka. So Arnold Palmer is like a mix of iced tea, sweet tea, and lemonade, and then vodka. How y'all doing? So, been gone for maybe a couple weeks. So, I think I got some new subscribers. Hey y'all, I hope you enjoy. It's a channel where we learn a little, curse a little, and I laugh from the very depths of my soul. And so I hope you enjoy. And if you do not, I hope you just scroll on past, because there are so many other channels that you could watch that you would probably enjoy more. So this episode was funny because it made me think of the superpowers that human beings have when it comes to their mental health issues. So we start this episode off. It's like a readathon at the school. And so the classroom with the kids that read the most, you know, they all get a pizza party, I guess. So none of the kids feel left out or feel bad or anything like that. But, like, I guess a class still has to win, like, a certain amount of numbers just because. So it's this battle between Melissa and Janine. And so anyways, like, Melissa has been the champ of this readathon for the past however many years and has this book reading wrestling belt situation that she's carrying around the school. And then Janine her competitive drive has kicked in and she wants to win this shit. So I always like to say, and this is why I say, like, Janine's like has a superpower if she learns how to like hone that skill. Because if you notice, for something that she wants that makes her happy, she can hyper focus and come up with a system to make that shit work, versus the chaoticness of trying to fix random things that don't need her to fix them just because she gets anxious and wants to stop that feeling. So if she could hone this anxiety, and there's articles about this, how like anxiety can make you more able to notice things that other people don't notice, and can, things like ADHD and ability to hyper focus, using that to multitask in ways that other people can't multitask, and how depression helps you be more realistic and when you're in your friend groups and things like that, and so you can be the more realistic mindset when it comes to people that are impulsive and stuff. See, when you hone these skills, they turn into like this weird superpower that makes being human a little bit better. Like last week, for example, after the holidays, I slept for a good 3 days after New Year's. I stayed home, and I was just like, a few years ago, I just started using mindfulness and then learned how to not shame myself for moments where society or people would say that I'm being lazy or, I'm procrastinating, and I just like fell into it. So when I would have like depression moments of extreme exhaustion, I would just fall into it. And when I allowed myself to do that, like afterwards, I would feel so recharged. So the holiday exhaustion made me sleep for 3 days and not get out of the bed and just eat and watch TV, and past me would have shamed myself, but allowing myself to feel that way recharged me enough to clean my whole bathroom. Just sitting in a shower, scrubbing the walls and stuff, like, wow, I don't feel like tired. I don't feel overwhelmed. And it's just like, okay. It just gives you this energy when you allow yourself to rest in the way that you need to rest. And sometimes depression allows you to do that. That's your body telling you that it's exhausted physically, mentally, and emotionally. And it just cannot handle the bullfuckery you're putting it through. And so now it's going to make you take the rest that you need to take. And so the goal is, if we can limit the amount of negative thoughts and shame that comes with these mental health issues, because that's when it starts to become a problem, because we're so focused on stopping the pain that we don't like notice that maybe if we try to work with the pain, like that's how I built my whole life. Like when I was younger, I realized that depression wasn't going to go away and I would just be cured. So I just started to figure out, like, how can I mold my life to work with my depression? So my goal has always been to have my own business so that I can make my own schedule, so that when I had days like that, if I needed to take days off, I could just do that and not have to worry about a boss or, white people in corporates trying to treat me like I'm some robot that doesn't feel things. You know what I mean? So that's what we see here with Janine. Because she enjoys this activity and because she wants to win and whatever, she built a whole reading bookland in her room. She figured out how to move her lesson plan for math to next week so that basically they're going to have double work next week, them poor children. And, has hyper focused on winning this. And Melissa can't understand this. She's just like, no, this girl just be chaotic and she waiting for her to mess up and stuff, but she's seeing that she's not going to mess up, so she starts trying to do frantic things. She's trying to get the kids to read at lunch, read at recess, read in the shower. Kids start sharing books and getting pink eye and shit like that. It's just like a chaotic mess, and I'm just like, Melissa, girl, is it this? Okay. And so it's just like, and then in the B plot, what's his name? The little white boy, Joshua, Jason, whatever his name is, he's over here trying to do podcasts with the kids, and he just loves listening to these white podcasters. I never could get into podcasts. I don't know. I just like I know that if I heard a good one, I probably would get into it, but I just don't feel like sitting. I already read. Like, I already have this huge to be read book thing. Like, most of these books I put out here are books that are from my to be read pile. Are books that I'm still reading, and it's been like a few weeks. And so, he just got this like idea based off of these white male podcasters, and I just feel like, guys in these podcast situations, like we all know these male podcasters that just be up here talking shit about women, talking shit about black women, I was just like, so is this the new thing that you could be teaching them how to make video games instead of But he wants to model the podcast off of these white male podcasters that these kids have never heard of. He's not listening to the kids because this activity is more for him than it is for the kids. And these kids want to be on there like Joe Budden. And, I could see where the kids are coming from. But at the same time, I could see where Jason Joshua was coming Jacob, it was some with a J, where he was coming from, because like some of them topics some kids was bringing, because it causes chaos in the school. It's like, why are you talking about these little girls that you try to talk to at lunch? Like, you gonna go out there and like they gonna confront you about talking shit about them on the radio. Like, what? I don't understand Jacob wanted to shut it down just because it didn't go along with his idealism of what a podcast is based off these white dudes he was listening to. I would have shut that shit down so they started talking about other people like that. Like, no, these are kids. This is not like, even in real life with Joe Budden talking shit about people, like, it still causes problems. And it's just like, why are we teaching the kids to talk shit? Why are we teaching the kids to talk shit about other people? I was watching this, and this goes into, I was watching this Korean drama. It's called The Glory. It's so good. This woman was bullied and abused, because bullying is abuse. It's physical abuse, it's emotional abuse. People react to it as if they've been severely traumatized. Like, it's abuse. So she was being bullied by these kids at school, and they was like burning her legs and arms with a curling iron, girl. Like, I don't So she basically put out a vendetta against them from high school till adulthood, and she was gonna get that the ringleader bitch. Like, she was gonna destroy her world. And I'm just like, that's why you don't fuck with people, because people have the ability to take their mental health, because she was traumatized, so she had trauma, so that was a mental health issue, and use it to hyper focus on you. Like, people don't realize how, like, intense hyper focusing is. Like, basically, like, if you can hyper focus, you can focus on something for so long that hours have passed, and you can learn a new skill quicker than most people because you can hyper focus. So it's like, this woman took her mental health issue of trauma and hyper focused it on getting this bitch back forever. I just be like, if all these mental health issues have a superpower, why niggas that be like sociopaths and shit, like, you hyper focus on hurting people or, committing stupid crimes and shit. And I'm just like, you could just like hyper focus on just hacking into the government and like changing things and deleting people's student loans and, fucking with them people, because them people is the ones that's fucking with everybody else. Why can't you point that shit somewhere where it matters? Like, if Ted Bundy had took all that energy and actually became a lawyer like he wanted to, and actually went out there and used his law degree to like take down the government or some shit, like where we would be if these niggas that are sociopaths and narcissists and shit actually focus that power and intent on something that would actually help people in the world. I'm just saying. But no, instead, they can only focus on helping themselves because they're always in survival mode and shit. So they wouldn't care about that. But it's just like, mental health is like a superpower. And so I could see, like, why we teaching kids to talk shit about other kids on a public platform. That's why I was just side-eyeing it. I was like, this is a nice little club, but like, we could do something that's more productive to teach especially our little boys, to create and do something that's not a podcast. It's software creation club, anime club, like any other club, but podcast club. I'm just like, and then you got Ava sitting up in there, like, I'm just here to laugh. I know Ava. And then you got Eddie, Mr. Gregory. What's his name? Eddie Gregory, whatever his name is. He up in there. He just trying to make extra money. So apparently, if he has a club, he can make extra money and shit, and he needs more money because apparently the fact that he is a poverty-stricken teacher is coming up again in his relationship. And I'm just like, well, there's a whole person here that is also a poverty-stricken teacher, and y'all could be in poverty together until you climb the ladder to where you need to be together, so you're on the same level financially. I mean, what, like, we always want somebody that makes more than us because we want to buy houses and shit like that later. But if we get somebody on the same level that's still striving to do better and whatever, and they work out and they decent people, I don't see nothing wrong with it. It's not for me. Let me clear the air. No, nigga, I want to buy properties in other countries and shit. I can't do that with. I'm not. Kids are expensive. Like, like, they need clothes and food all the time. They be talking and asking for shit. If you send them to private school, even public school, if they play a sport, them uniforms cost like $500 a pop or some shit or more. They want to play basketball because my kids ain't playing no fucking football. You saw that man, God bless him, have a whole heart attack on the field. You see what I'm talking about? He's home now, but he could have heart problems from now on. No, I'm okay. But even basketball uniforms, cheerleading uniforms, traveling to games and shit they want you to put in. Like, kids are fucking expensive, okay? And so don't vote for me because I want somebody that makes at least six figures or above. Because no, all this shit is expensive, and I know what the fuck I want. And if you're not willing to give it, I don't know what to tell you. But for them, they may be fine with the fact that they both, 0.1% above the poverty line. They may be fine with that. Eddie has aspirations of being a principal, so Eddie has desires to be a principal. So he could be a principal and make more money. And I don't know what she's trying to do. She don't even like herself. So we got to wait till she like herself. So, I'm hoping that he ends up single once more, as he should. And, maybe just stay single. Maybe just take a break for a little bit. And, Janine might get it together. Because they was acting all awkward and weird and shit. Because they didn't know whether to hug each other or say hi. And it was just like, okay, girl, y'all both just. And then Brenda had it right on the head. She was just like, just to sit and watch two people just be socially awkward, just it was just a lot. It was because Janine got anxiety, Gregory got he's autistic. I'm just gonna call it. I'm calling him as autistic. I don't care. Ain't nothing wrong with it. I want to be autistic. I want to see an autistic person fall in love and be happy and shit. And so, I'm just like, they gonna figure it out. Janine is showing she got superpowers, y'all. Like, who thinks of, and she put tents all up in the classroom and all this other stuff. Anyways, Gregory is doing this podcast just because he's trying to make a little extra money. And Jacob is just like sitting up there trying to be big white man and not realizing that he's being big white man. It's like, that's what happens when you overcompensate. You don't really see the other parts of you that are actually racist. You're just down on these kids and what they like and shit. Like, how about you, okay, if it's offensive, how about you come up with topics that they could talk about in the same way Joe Budden would sound, but like in a non-offensive way or some shit, like they work with the children. You ain't even trying to work with them. So, excuse me. Ava, the kids quit because they filmed the first podcast and this nigga gonna basically record over everything they said. And just use little snippets of catchphrases they use and not see that that's a problem. And the kids are just like, you're trying to silence it. It's just like, and then Jacob's just like, and then he just like, me and Mr. Eddie, and Greg was like, Mr. Eddie ain't got shit to do with this. No. And then Jacob's just like, okay, I guess. And then he goes and packs everything up and try to give it back to Ava. And it was like, yeah, that shit was boring. Like, I'm surprised you even got through one episode. And she just basically told Jacob, like, it sounded like, because she be having gems here and there. Like, Ava be having gems here and there. And I just be like, okay, Ava, we see that there is a heart in there. But sometimes you can be like Harper from The Best Man and just be in survival mode and just be focused on your damn self until somebody jerks you enough, shakes you enough, rattles you enough to see that, other people's feelings matter too. How people feel matter outside of myself. Okay. So anyways, she tells him, she reads from a fucking filth. Like, my nigga, you went up in there and wanted to do your own shit and didn't give a fuck what the kids wanted. You didn't care. So, because you didn't care, them kids said, nah, nigga, we not about to be silenced. And then they left. So, you need to figure that shit out. So, he figures it out. And then he lets the kids basically go up in there and be offensive like Joe Budden. I'm just saying there's other things that they could be doing. We could do a Minecraft club. Call it an architecture club. And they got to build like different types of like style of houses and stuff and buildings, but they have to do it in Minecraft. Like we could Greco-Roman, some shit like that. Adobo, some shit like that. Like, no, but instead, comic book club where we draw comics and create things. No, instead, we're creating some more podcast niggas to go on the internet and talk shit about black women, because that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to talk shit about the little popular girl and shit. He wanted to talk more shit about black women, black girls. I hated it. Because it's basically what he was doing. So if that's what Jacob was going off of, I would be like, that's right, Jacob. Why we have these little boys in here talking shit about this little black girl and she didn't do nothing but live, but thrive, you know? But no, he wanted to go and put his white man's voice on it, and so he was being racist. I just be like, so you know, white people just be being racist and they just not clocking it until you show them. And then when you show them, they're either going to get really defensive like Jacob did at first. Like, don't say that, I wasn't silencing you. Or they're going to own up to that shit and be like, oh wow, I didn't realize that, like, the unbeknownst racism just slided. Shit was racist. And he just kept going on and on about these, and he had made like this whole booklet for the kids, all these like the script based off of these white fucking podcasters and shit. And I'm just like, don't make this into a culture thing, because these podcast niggas is just the same. It's just the same. They all talking about women and how we suck. The white people are just more, they add racism into the mix. And sometimes the incels be adding racism into the mix too. They be anti-black and shit, you know? So it's just like, no, nigga, why we gotta do podcast club? I'm tired. Can we get rid of podcast club? Because it's gonna start some fight in school. Like, these little niggas about to get jumped. You gonna have them on there talking like Joe Budden, and then these little niggas is about to get jumped by somebody at school, because Joe Budden can't get jumped because he got a studio, and then he go from his studio to his car, then he go from his car to his gated community, where niggas can't get to him and jump him as easily. But these kids is on the playground with other kids, and then you gonna talk shit about these kids on the podcast. You go get these kids ass beat. That's what I'm talking about. That's why we don't need podcast club. Shit. So anyways, he lets them be and do and be and whatever the fuck. And then, so let's go back before we get to the end. So anyways, with the book readathon situation, so Janine technically wins, but Melissa part of the way through, Melissa finds out that the numbers are being like stuffed and stuff. And so she finds out the numbers are being stuffed by this one little girl who has trouble with reading. And she has like these African parents. And like sometimes some, not all, but some that I've noticed, you know, I think it's just cultures outside of the U.S. Because Asian folks do this shit too, where they hype up your kids like being successful and putting that shit over everything else. And then a lot of these cultures don't believe in like mental health or like getting extra support for your kids. Just as Black Americans, a lot of the older versions of us don't believe in going to therapy and shit, you know. And so you push these kids to be smart, and then you don't see that they need extra help. And in elementary school, sometimes it's hard to catch that shit because you're doing all these art projects and shit like that, which is nothing wrong with that. But you're doing all these like projects that may be a little bit easier, and it may be a little bit harder for you to catch that they have a reading or a math issue sometimes. If you have a class with a bunch of artsy teachers and stuff like that, and then they get to 8th grade, 6th, 7th, 8th grade in middle school and shit, and then they start failing everything and stuff. And it's just like, and kids, especially kids with ADHD, do better in elementary school, so it's harder to catch unless they're like the hyperactive type. And so the hyperactive type will just be standing up, talking fast, jumping around and shit. But if it's an I'm talking hella fast. If it's the inattentive type of ADHD, then it's just some quiet kid that keeps staring out the window. They quiet. Why we got to do extras? And that's how these kids keep slipping through the cracks. Those kids is quiet. Well, they're quiet, so, you know, we're not going to give them extra help. Like, I've seen kids fail class after class after class. Now, one teacher come and ask them what's wrong just because they're quiet. We're quiet, so. I just be like, what, you saw them failing everything. You saw them fail everything. you didn't talk to them because they're quiet. Okay, what's wrong? Why are you even a teacher? Let me know. So anyways, what was I talking about? So this little girl is up here, and her parents are African. I don't know from what part or nothing, what country, but they will not let Melissa like get this child some extra help with reading. So they sitting up here making the child lie like she done read 25 books in a night and shit, and she know all these words. And Melissa like giving her little test questions, and the girl don't know what the fuck she talking about. Don't know the Berenstein Bears sister name and shit like that. So she tried to talk to the parents, and the parents just like, I don't know. And I'm just like, see, I wonder how they would have responded to like a culturally attuned teacher or like another African teacher, because they seemed already on the defense when they started talking to Melissa. Melissa can come off kind of rough anyways, but she was really trying to be nice, but she still like, she like godfathering and shit. So I'm wondering like if they would have responded better to a more culturally attuned teacher. I would, if I was Melissa, I would try to get Janine or Barbara. I would get Barbara to talk to these parents if Barbara's not busy. But she did the best she could, and they weren't accepting that their kid needs extra help and has maybe like a learning disability where and people be thinking like learning disability don't mean you stupid. It just means you learn different. Like how some people are visual learners and some people like need to are auditory learners, and some people need to like read the shit to learn and stuff like that. And they just learn different. The same thing for people with like mental delays and autisms and shit like that, like Down syndromes and shit. They just learn different, but they know what the fuck's happening around. I just be like, why y'all treat people like they don't know what the fuck's going on? Like, these are regular ass fucking people. They just different. And so, but they don't understand that. And so they ain't gonna get the child extra help. So Melissa gives her, because she had the same kind of issue when she was younger. And this teacher gave her this book, a story about a girl that had the same issue, with all of the first letters of the words highlighted. So, and that's crazy. That's a good teacher. You went through that whole book and highlighted them first letters and them first words and stuff to help the little girl learn how to sound out the words and understand them better and shit. And Melissa said even that she still has the issue. Like at the end when she was trying to read Janine for Filth and shit about who actually won the readathon and shit, she was like, I sometimes I don't get what I'm reading the first time, so I have to reread it. But like it says here that the whole class, counts towards reading. And since she has a class of second and third graders in the same classroom, then the whole class counts. And so she won. And, the thing, Janine was just hyper focused on like her structure that she didn't consider. Like she considered that she would cheat, but she didn't consider that. What's his name? Bill Gates said it one time. He was like, and he's a horrible person too. I just remember that he said this, and because he made money and shit, I feel like I'm lazy. I'm just gonna go. I'm often unmotivated. That's what I'll say. I won't say late. I'm often unmotivated to do shit. And he said, what did he say? He said that people that are lazy will find the easiest way to do something to get it over with. And then those people tend to make you the most money because they make it easier. And she didn't expect Melissa to just do it the easy way. Like she didn't have to cheat. She just found a loophole, and when you're so focused on your shit, see, she ain't honed the tool yet, because when you hone the tool, you know when to open and close. So close, I'm hyper focused on it. Open, I'm considering there could be other ways around my structure. So since there may be other ways around my structure, then I need to, clock that shit real quick. She wouldn't think about that. So, Melissa found a loophole, and she was just like, yeah, so I won. And so the bet was that whoever lost had to go on Jacob's podcast. And so Janine went on Jacob's podcast, and of course the kids, they're gonna be like Joe Budden. So Little boy gonna ask me, I saw you grinding on. My mama said, Mama, my mama said she saw you grinding on Mr. Eddie at the club over the break. And then both her and Miss Eddie just like, she was just like, what kind of podcast? And then Gregory's just like, this isn't what we were supposed to be talking about. I'm not answering this. And then the kids is like, so it's true. So it's true. And they turn to Jacob and they're just like, I think we should stop the pod. And Jacob's like, no, I think that I too would like to hear about the club situation, because Jacob's a gossip. He want to know every fucking thing. And so, and then that's his friend too. So, and he thinks Gregory is his friend too. I think Gregory just feels like he's a work acquaintance. And Jacob feels like Gregory is his bestest friend. Is this. So they just sitting there awkward, just looking at each other, just like, and then it ends. I'm just like, so y'all, this, like I said, this is a good example of what it looks like when you hone your tools. So working with your mental health instead of feeling like you have to get rid of it. Just because you have an extreme expression of emotion doesn't mean that it's not supposed to be there. Maybe we're supposed to use it for things that and create and do magical things. Like oh my gosh, ow, I poked myself in a pimple. I had clients that I would see, like high school students, when I worked at the agency I used to work at, and they would have ADHD, right? And they would be on meds, right? But then they would decide to, like, because with some ADHD medication, you don't have to take it every day. So you can just take it as needed. And so they would decide to take their ADHD medicine when they would be doing academic stuff in school, and then not to take it when they would play like sports and shit, like football, because it stopped them from like that magical power that ADHD people have to hyper focus on things that they enjoy. And I was watching this TED talk about that, and this woman was talking about how it's because people with ADHD have like less dopamine in their brain. So the happy pill, the happy hormone that basically like makes us feel good. Like when we do things that make us feel good, then the dopamine runs, and that's what makes us feel good. And so people with ADHD have less of that. And so that's why they appear to lose focus, when in reality they're trying to find something to focus on that will give them more dopamine. So you go from bird to squirrel to the kid talking behind you, and then it's just like you just all over the place and you can't like stop yourself. So when you hyper focus, that means that you're doing something that gives you a surplus of dopamine, and so you just want to keep doing it, and then you just be doing that shit for like however many hours. That's why you got them kids that can't focus on their schoolwork because they don't enjoy this, but they can sit and focus on a video game for 14 hours straight. We have an ability, people that don't have ADHD, to focus on things that we don't enjoy, to rush through them or to just kind of get them over with or whatever, and then just get it done. But people with ADHD, like, they can't do that. It's hard. I won't say they can't. It's hard. So that's what like the meds are for, to help bring that in so that they can get through these situations. And so what was I talking about? That's why, like, we have to look at mental health as more than just like, oh, this is a bad thing that I can't control, so either I'm not gonna think about it or I'm gonna live my life for it in survival mode, always trying to dampen the pain of it. Instead of, like, I was reading this one book. What's it called? I'll put a little thing. But this girl, she had like plant powers and shit, and she could make the plants move and grow and do all this shit. And she was just like, hiding her powers. When she was living in the city, she was trying to hide her powers and stuff so nobody would know about it, and it would make her literally sick to do that. So they moved to the country, and she inherited this house from like her biological family, because she was adopted or whatever. And her adopted parents knew all about it, and they was just like, well, now that we're out here in the wilderness and shit, just use your power to your fullest extent. And she felt so much relief just releasing and letting herself use her magics and shit. And I was just like, see, that's how mental health is. You ain't gonna lose control once you acknowledge the pain. Like, you gonna learn how to deal with it and work with it and let it work with you. So that's why I'm saying, like, that's what we saw in Janine. She was working with the skills that she had to hyper focus, and almost win. She hyper focused a little too much because she ain't got it. She ain't got a good handle on the magics. So yeah, in what ways have you noticed maybe your mental health stuff giving you more of an advantage over other people? Because like, I noticed it. I feel like it made me smarter, because I just enjoy learning and shit. Like, that was the thing, because in the 90s we didn't have cell phones and shit, so I would watch the Discovery Channel, so I would just disassociate with the book or the Discovery Channel. So the disassociation made me learn a bunch of random ass facts that got me good grades in school. The anxiety of fear of not ever wanting to be homeless made me hyper focus as well on getting good grades in school. Like, no, I'm not, because I don't know if I can survive. God bless the people that are, but I just can't. I can't survive. I be driving and it's raining, and I be seeing folks out on the street, and I just be praying for them because they be out in the rain, it's wet, and I just be like, I don't know. I don't know what can we do in this world to help people, because niggas don't want to help people, but then want to complain that they're just there. Like, why you gonna move people's homeless encampments? Where they supposed to go? Like, you gonna move it? You gonna destroy their homeless encampment, and then they supposed to what? Like go to a different open area and build another homeless. Like, where are the services? And I understand that, because due to some people's mental health issues, there are going to be those few that want to be homeless. There are those few, but it ain't the majority. Like, the majority don't want to live like that. And I also understand that there's people with addictions. If they were in their right mind, they wouldn't want to live like that neither. Like, y'all need to be getting services for these people with addictions. Like, why aren't we funding? Because white America. Oh, I feel like it's so ironic that Eminem's saying that. Be like, you kind of like a part of the problem, but go off, sis. But anyways, let me know what you thought of this episode of my reviews and all of the magical things in the world. I hope you enjoyed. I enjoyed. And later days.